This is a market we're going to. Walking in, I really highly suggest you just hold the camera down by your side like it's off. They're very strict about no camera policy. It's so busy. A lot of the parts are remanufactured, recycled. Some are new, some are fake. Replacement batteries and screens for Samsung tablets, backings for Samsung tablets. And then you see back over there, see those big chests of safes over there? All cash. If you want to buy cases for your iPhone to sell like new, you can buy empty boxes. These are just empty boxes they're selling. So this woman's selling iPhone 5Cs. Those are not new, but authentic. They're used and recycled. Another guy here swapping out parts casually. All the tools you need to repair phones, like the vacuum chambers, the wire cutters to remove the screens, jigs to like hold everything in place and align up the screens. The incessant cracking of packing tape. That's a sign of a deal closed. And then you pop out here in a suburbia. Welcome to the suburbs.
Oh my gosh, I love Shenzhen. You can't talk bad about Shenzhen.
Shenzhen started from a fishing village.
From 300,000 to 10 million.
14 million.
20 million.
No cities in the history of human civilization as we know was able to do this.
成功就是要拓荒，就是要突破这种盘根错节的束缚，进行改革开放。
Shenzhen is creating more millionaires than any other cities in China.
I mean, they can do everything. The factory of the world. People don't understand this.
It could be Europe, US, anywhere else. You're about 9 months behind us when it comes to technology, and that's just a fact.
The model that is being developed in Shenzhen can actually be quite threatening for models that had already been established and very successful in other parts of the world.
I do think that the core tenets of sharing IP that they have is extremely enabling.
It's a cultural change. It will take a while, but the future is possible.
It's not that Silicon Valley got divorced from technology. They're very much about technology. They just kept moving up the stack. And the key thing that drove that, in my opinion, was Moore's Law. Moore's Law is named after Gordon Moore, who was one of the founders of Intel. And in like 1960s, he came out with a paper. He predicted that every 2 years, I believe it was, the number of components you could fit in the same piece of silicon would double. And so in 1 year, you could fit 10 transistors in here. 2 years later, it would be like 20, then 40. A decade on, you're talking about like millions and then billions. Imagine you have a printer and you're printing pages and you want to be more efficient. Well, you go from a 12-point font to a 6-point font, fitting twice as many characters on one page, and you're getting twice as much information out of your printer all in one go. And that's literally all Moore's Law has been, is reducing the font size of circuits. In the 70s and 80s, there were many failed research attempts to build parallel computers, right? Computers that were like, the Cray machines and the thinking machines, 60,000 processors, and scale up. And what you found was that if you spent more than 2 years of research time to try and double the performance of your computer, it was by far cheaper just to sit back and wait and let guys like Intel just move Moore's Law ahead and buy the next fastest processor. And so what you found was that actually being in hardware wasn't profitable. And so what really sold products back in the day was features.
Well, one of the things you can do with Windows 98 is similar to the web. You can navigate on your hard drive using the backwards and forwards buttons just like you would on the web.
The first generation of Windows that would come out and a new generation would be so slow, it'd be completely unusable. And then 2 years later, like, oh, it's actually kind of okay. And then 4 years later, it's like zipping along. It's not because Microsoft made it faster. The computers got faster for free. And so people were able to now not have to worry about writing detailed stuff in C code. They could use high-level languages. They're able to use like web pages, and then JavaScript comes along. And with all of that sort of fervor going on and people chasing that innovation, there was no value in soldering parts. There really wasn't.
In 1983, worldwide sales of personal computers increased 76%. But last year, the increase was only 19%. And this year, analysts predict that sales growth will slow to about 4%. Losses among the two largest home computer makers through June of this year surpassed $600 million.
And that building of stuff had to go to an economy where people were paid a lot less. And what you see is now that Silicon Valley, the whole tech ecosystem is sort of like driven as far as the road goes, and now Moore's Law sort of is ending or ended, and the car is still kind of gliding off the cliff, right? But there's no more road underneath it. and they're like, like computers just aren't getting that much faster anymore. And so now you're seeing people going through a phase of optimization, which is great. But at the same time, people are like, okay, well, how do we differentiate my product, right? Like optimization sucks. That's not a great business model. Because now we have supercomputers in our pocket. Now the question is, what do we do with it, right? And what does that thing in my pocket not already do? And so people are realizing there's niche markets for hardware. We need to have a small accessory. You're gonna have like my Fitbit, all these little things, my little digital locks, my smart homes, my sensor networks, the IoT sort of stuff coming up. And they say, great, we need to figure out how to build this. And now they're coming back to this ecosystem and being like, oh, you guys know how to solder. We forgot about that. That's really good. Can you help us build these things?
What should we say?
When I was 18, the first time I go to US, I use a trash can and like wood, vacuum cleaner, build the very first ping pong robot.
You want a robot that's just like you, but slightly better, so you always feel challenged.
I dropped out from university after first year of college. Decided to go for this path. And it's really nice to be in HAX because HAX is the best educator and help you grow. God!
HAX is a hardware accelerator, the world's first hardware accelerator. We take teams that come in with a proven technology and a prototype and help them to get ready for market launch. We provide $100,000. We help them with electrical engineering, design for manufacture, industrial design, mechanical engineering, their market strategy, how they're going to launch, and for that we take 9% equity in the startups.
I'm Thomas, co-founder of Rovenso, and at Rovenso we make big robots. We use a kind of spatial joystick. It's usually used in surgery, these things. It's a force feedback joystick. The market that we target is the one of nuclear decommissioning. And what you can see here is a small version of a robot. And now at HAX we are building the very big version. So you can compare the wheel size, that will be something quite huge. The bigger version of the robot will transport a robotic arm to automate some of the part of the decommissioning work.
Shenzhen's, as everybody now knows, the hardware capital of the world, right? So this has been our home ever since the start. The reason we come here and take the teams here is because of the ecosystem around, which helps them to build products really fast, and from initial concept all the way up to final product release into the market.
Neura is a headphone company. We're making the world's first tunable headphones. They work out how you hear and provide the perfect music for you. So I can show you here the hearing profiles of my colleague Luke and my hearing profile. What you can see is that there is this difference at certain frequencies between the way that Luke is sensitive to that particular note or sound, the way that I'm sensitive to it. What our headphones do is sonically mold the sound and make sure that what we hear is not too bassy, it's not too trebly, it sounds balanced, it sounds even, and it sounds the way that it was recorded.
Anybody who's going through research and development, they're better off doing it here because they can get things made so much quicker and so much cheaper. I mean, you try doing something like that in the UK, it'll take you around a month typically to make something which is a specialist from an engineering firm. Here you can do it in a couple of days.
Let's say we completely design a new robot. We can get it out pretty much in a week. Even if there's 10 parts, we can send it out or we can do it ourselves. So you get 10 3D printers to print at the same time, and you get all the parts, put it together, and just fire. I've never seen any prototyping like that when we were in States.
For some of the standard parts, we can order in the morning, and then we get it in the afternoon or the day after. We can get manufactured parts in a few days. In Switzerland, we were planning to do this robot in 9 months. And here we have the opportunity to make it in 3 months. So it's really a race.
If you look back through the years, like obviously Shenzhen, it became a manufacturing hub very, very quickly. And not that long ago was literally rice paddies.
Academic-wise and in popular media, it's usually summarized in one sentence, which is that Shenzhen was a small sleeping fishing village, and then because it was designated as a special economic zone, it became a metropolis overnight. That singular sentence is what I'm trying to demystify through my work. Today, exactly how many people live in Shenzhen is a mystery. The number 10 million is used more as a reference. So from 300,000 to 10 million, this population grows. No cities in the history of human civilization as we know that was able to do this. Prior to 1980s, China was in a very poor economic state. There was a stagnation of industry, there was a planned economy, no one was allowed to own business. It was a very poor country. The leaders in Beijing have been thinking about what can they do to try to lead the country out of poverty.
当时的这个整个的大陆这边的经济受这种极左思想的束缚，整个经济陷入这种困顿状态。这张图呢，就是反映了当时77年的时候，深圳这个地区和香港那边的这个居民收入的一个对比，差了很多，有10倍的差距。这个人民生活越来越差。这个呢，就是很有名的这一句话，就是邓小平在他来调研的时候说呢，这是政策有问题，不是部队能管得了的，所以我们要调整这个政策，才实行了改革开放。
They set up the 4 special economic zones, each of them next to a already developed economy. The ambition was simply what can the country do to generate jobs, to generate economy, to feed the people. Essentially, it was a very actually modest intention. Under the planned economy, there was a social safety net. Every person was rationed with food coupons, clothing coupons, electricity coupons. It was only in Shenzhen you can buy a piece of bread with money. To be willing to come to Shenzhen, to the special economic zone, to try to create something else, it attracted people who wanted to have more freedom.
这张照片呢是当时的一个工厂华强那个南洋电子厂。这张照片好，就是当时的工人正好要去上班这个就是当时人们生活面貌的一个反应因为深圳人民对邓小平的感情很深没有小平就没有深圳。当时92年，小平又一次来深圳视察所住的那个宾馆的房间的情况。这一台是深圳的第一台 ATM 机，你把它钱塞进去，马上会出来一个金额你把那个钱整理好之后呢，写一张条，多少钱，塞到这个窗口里面去，后台人员给你处理。它并不是说像现在，当时赋予的它的使命呢，就是技术、知识、对外政策的窗口我们要引进国外的先进的知识和理念所以就是说，在深圳这边先试验成功了，再向这个全国来推广。这是小平说的“摸着石头过河”这个石头就是深圳。
What to me what's remarkable about Shenzhen is that even the planners themselves would tell you that the city evolved in a way much bigger and faster than they would have predicted. I think it's overly generalized to think that Shenzhen was nothing and then with this set up special economic zone suddenly it became a city. It didn't. There is something else that's not answered simply by top-down planning.
I think for the past 100 years, the Industrial Revolution put us into small cages. Hundreds of years of consumerism has cued a lot of creativity.
We have been investing in open source solutions because we know that when there are standards and when there are open source offerings, that the pace of technology innovation and the pace of technology adoption accelerates.
China's middle class is the size of the entire United States population. So even if a small section of Chinese people had risen to the upper middle class, it's big enough to create a movement in China itself. That whole movement is now making more sense to me.